It's a lovely read. It takes you home, and it kind of gives you a great sense of a person and a great sense of a life lived by somebody. So I'm delighted to launch the book, and even more delighted to ask you to come up and read some of your poems in your own voice.
Thank you very much, Richard. I'll talk about Richard in a minute. I want to welcome you all here this evening, my friends from a wide range of places and things. I want to welcome you from the bridge, golf, work colleagues, the writing groups of Bayside and Trinity, particularly those who helped me along the way, Paddy Glavin, Marita Woods, John O'Malley, Jennifer Brady, and John Houghton, who gave me an hour on his programme on Near FM the other day, and he allowed me to read some of his poems. But there are many friends from other fields that we met over the years and enjoyed one another's company, and you're here this evening because I want you to be here. Now, my thanks too to my ever-suffering family. You know, when you're told to watch a stew on the cooker and somebody comes in and it's spilled out on the floor, and you say, well, you're not watching the stew, and you say, no, I was struggling for the rhyming couplet. It doesn't always work. To David McHugh, who designed the cover and burned the midnight oil putting these poems on the computer, and that poem, that cover was actually taken by my friend Fergal O'Gorman. I'll talk about him later. Last summer, believe it or not, that was a summer's day in Donegal, so that's what they have up there in the summer, waves and wind and that kind of stuff. Now, my thanks to Neil O'Gorman for doing the MC and for blueprinting this kind of a 90s in PRO business, as you know, and this is what he does. And Richard, thank you very much, Richard, for coming. You're a very busy man. You're going from Iraq to God knows where, and you gave the time tonight. There was an old brother, he used to say to me, nobody ever has time, you must make time. So that's what Richard has done for us, he has made time. Richard came up the road in Raheny many years ago when I was in another life teaching. It was a shining morning face. And he was sitting there on the desk, a lovely, prim and proper pupil, and you'd ask him a question, he'd have the answer, which is a terrible training for what he's doing now, because he asks a minister a question, he gets an answer to something else. What do you think about the flooding, Minister? Well, Irish people always loved water. There's nothing an Irish person likes as much as sitting down to his dinner, dangling his feet in nice cool water. And let me repeat again, it's wonderful to have you all here this evening from whatever field of endeavour you come from. And we're going to enjoy the evening together. And I'm going to read a few poems now. I'm going to tell you a background, some of them at least, and I hope you enjoy them. Now, the first poem I'm going to read, it's not an original theme because the first president was a poet, Douglas Hyde, and he wrote very nicely in Irish, and the subject matter I'm going to talk about is 4 people with scythes going into a field in summer mowing the hay. And he wrote it in Irish, Kerispal Gera Exshuli Chela. It translated very nicely, and I'm going to show you how it went, and then I'll come back to my own poem. 4 gleaming scythes in the sunshine swaying through the deep hush of a summer's day. Before their edges 4 stout men sweeping in tuneful measure the fragrant hay. Myself, the 4th of them, strong and happy, my keen blue steel moving fast and free. Ah, little then was the broadest meadow, and light the heaviest scythe to me. That's Douglas Hyde's poem. I have treated the subject as well. A man going into a field with a scythe. Can you imagine a job it was, looking at a big field with a scythe in your hand, and you have to mow it all blade by blade. And there's a reference or two in this poem I want to talk to you about. It's how cut by a landlord's hand. The landlords came along and sliced my peninsula, which is on the cover of the book there, in fields, going across from sea to sea, and they're there to this day, the ditches are there to this day, And you might wonder what an Isaac Nash is. Well, it was a maker scythe that the men in Donegal used to mow the hay. Now somebody asked me, is this way back in the 40s or what? And I said, no, I think the ground is so poor up there. If you're going up this summer, you'd see a man using a scythe just as well. Mowing the hay. The mower looks at his long, lean strip of land, marked out by a landlord's hand a century before. High stone ditches are well-marked borders, the boundary of his kingdom. His flannel shirt he folds to elbow length, his scythe shaft stuck in ground, the long steel blade he holds beneath his arm. Here begins the ritual of sharpening. Rubbing a stone along the Isaac Nash, the razor sharpness of the edge he tests with a well-tuned thumb. Like a violinist, the ring of thumb on steel registers the perfect pitch. Now the mowing task begins. With measure sweeps the hayfield falls, corn crakes scurry to a safer place. The windrows stretch in horizontal lines, awaiting the harvest sun. Day's end is marked with linnet song. Fluty notes delivered from a treetop perch ruffles the silk of the evening. The mower walks in a haze of tiredness. In his nostrils, the fragrance of the new mown hay. I have two poems on immigration in this work. I used to go to a boarding school. I was locked away in a boarding school for 4 years, and I used to go down to the town of Tillybegs to meet the little narrow gauge railway train there. It was a carriage really on this narrow gauge railway, and there's a waiting room there, which is a very sad place. Well, I was going to be locked away for a term. All these young people were going away to far off places, to New York, Chicago, Australia, New Zealand, England. They were devastated in going, and their parents were more devastated still. And this is the scene I'm trying to describe to you here, and I hope I have captured it. It's called Railway Station Waiting Room, 1950. The narrow gauge railway line ended at Tillybegs, a steel escape route to a wider world. The waiting room for the morning train seemed always full, a weight-like silence hanging in the air right up to boarding time. And then fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, convulsed in the tyranny of separation. Inside the carriage, a mist of sadness, never clearing until we reach the gap of Barnesmore. A running stream below the winter blackness of the hills. A ripple of conversation starts within. "I'm for a tunnel in Birmingham with this Monday," says a muscular farmer type with tattered red hair and well greased with brill cream. "I'm for a chocolate factory in Casper," says a girl with a herringbone coat. A stage completed, Strabane is a cart wheel of movement, a hub with spoke-like routes spreading out to destinations on ever-increasing circles. For some, a new life is beckoning. For others, a lifestyle has slipped away, never to return. One of the biggest events in our parish was the mission. You had to go to the mission no matter what you were doing, and spades were stuck on the ground and you headed off to the mission. I was only 10 at the time when this famous mission took place. And people would say, "This Tuesday is going to be a tight night. It's going to be on company keeping. The men are not going to like it and the women are not going to like it and things are going to be tight after it, I'm telling you." So I asked my mother one day, "What's this company keeping?" She said, "Go out and read the carrots outside and do something useful." So she brought me on this Tuesday night to the mission. Out to dark road, up a dark street, and the chapels at the top of the town lit, and everybody going. So I hope I capture the mission. Life mightn't be the same after this. It would seem that company keeping night was well advertised. I was only 10, and it was thought that one night at the mission would be uplifting for the soul. In the church, the glow from the oil lamps spread pockets of yellow light in huge circles, giving the faces of the packed, tight congregation a ghoulish quality of light and shade. Children like me were corralled behind the altar rails. As the fat missioner ascended the pulpit steps, his great black cross formed an uneasy resting place on the roundness of his stomach. "That's the sex, missioner," someone muttered. He broke the icy stillness by reading out the programme for the week, but lost no time in wading in to the topic of the night. "Men," dramatic pause, "you haul a girl to a darkened lane for a mere few minutes of gratuitous pleasure, earning for yourselves a pain of hell for all eternity. What is pain? What is eternity? Pain is what you feel when you are tied by red-hot chains on a bed of white-red iron forever. That forever is not strong enough for the word eternity. The clock of hell is stuck at 12. In a million years, the hand moves not a single second. That's eternity. Faces register a grimness. No sound. A boy at my elbow needs a toilet now. The side altar, the only refuge for instant relief. The church becomes a sea of candlelight. All denounce the world, the flesh, and the devil. Candles extinguished, the church empties out its mission pilgrims. I walk out into the October night. In the dull light from the mission stalls, I see a girl in black. Her white ankle's the only sign of a human body. I wondered if she was heading for a darkened lane to chance eternity on white-red beds of iron. And what on earth was this company keeping business all about? I'm not going to read many more, but there's one which I read a few times before and we've done very well. It's called The McHughs of Townie will know all about this, the salmon drifter. I explained to other people before that salmon drifting is now a crime. Big government boats chase small boats around the rocks, take them in and put them to jail. And I knew the salmon drifters as people like the old man in the sea. You remember Hemingway's story about the old man went out and he caught this big fish and he was taking it in. Salmon drifters went out at night to bring in the salmon. They're on their own, no ship to shore, communication, just the lights of the houses. And if they didn't come in the morning to the pier, they were regarded as lost and the search party went out. So I knew the salmon drifters as real people, and I dedicate this to them. Imagine this man out in his boat alone, catching salmon, off the coast of Donegal. A bracelet of orange corks stretches out from the Bully Bheag, a mile or so to sea. The drifter in his timber punt watches with radar eye for a bulging net of bobbing cork. Barely visible his native shoreline, high above, pinheads of light from mountain homes become his compass points. Friendly currents are flowing now an hour before the dawn. A salmon strike. The surface rope is taut as salmon wriggle in phosphorescent light. A 16-pounder tests a breaking strain of monofilament. Power-packed tail creates a forward thrust, a final bid for freedom. Between net and land, a disgruntled seal makes nasal noises, deprived of his morning banquet. Sinewy arms reach out. The gunwale dips. The silver blue-green catch is hauled aboard. That's the salmon drifter. Now, before I read the last poem. There's cabaret after this. A lot of my friends are here tonight to sing and play music for you. So this is the last poem I'll read. I want to bring you back to January of this year when we had the snow. Now, you should always go away from a poetry really intellectualised, asking, what did he mean by that? What did that poem mean? But never admit you don't know. Always say it was wonderful, I understood it very well. And this is the poem which is the intellectual spot of the evening. You know how miserable we were in the snow? We were falling and breaking bones, we were blending in hospital, and we couldn't get down for the milk, and our cars were skidding all over the roads, and we thought the country was ruined, and the men still went away on holidays to the sun, and what's going to happen as the ice age here or what? I thought I'd romanticise the snow a little bit. So you can make your own of this. That's the intellectualisation of the evening. You are the snow, and I am the thaw. You never looked as beautiful as that first morning, making paleness fashionable. You were a rock star, causing a media scramble. And you had power. You held the country to ransom. You could topple governments. But as a dictator sometimes overstays his welcome, you made the populace weary. Wrinkles in your face went beyond the call of Botox. I gave you counsel. I asked you to step aside, but promised a reincarnation. Thank you very much. I'll hand you back to Neil O'Gorman.